Well, morning everybody. Well, it's morning for me as I'm filming this anyway. I suppose I ought to be a bit more like Lee and say welcome back to the channel. Far too YouTube that, innit? Anyway, speaking of Lee, I am going to go and see him in a bit, but I'm just on a Sunday morning leisure drive in Agatha. No real plans, just going to put a few miles on it. It's been a good 2 or 3 weeks since I've driven Agatha. When I went to that car show with Lee that I think you'll have seen by now. Scheduling of videos is quite topsy-turvy because of Lee sends me footage, obviously remotely, and I just fit stuff in, try and stay in some sort of time frame, but you know what it is, it's difficult. So yeah, currently as I'm chatting to you, Lee is doing a lot of repairs on Mrs. Wynne. He's found a bit of rust in the front valance area, and I think you'll have seen part one of that as well. I think this will go in between part one of that and part two when he actually starts cutting the metal out. I shall find out later, no doubt, if that video will be on its way to me soon. But really, it's just a bit of a catch-up for everybody, and I suppose to sort of stop a bit of confusion here and there are going to be a lot of new subscribers. We've had a fair few this year, and we welcome you all, who don't know the backstory of why sometimes there's a tall bloke with big ears and a bald head, and and sometimes there's a short bloke with a bald head and a wonky eye hosting the channel. And it is fairly easy to describe. Basically, around 5 or 6 years ago now, when Lee and I first met through being in a car club local to us, we both gave each other that knowing nod of, oh, that's your pile of shit, is it? But we didn't speak until weeks later, when I think I put out a call for help of something, and Lee ended up helping me, and we've got on ever since. He's been my great confidant and assistant in anything that's gone wrong on the car over the years. He's made me slightly lazy in a way. Many years ago, I've had Land Rovers all my life, and I can work on cars. As I've got older, I've chose to divert from that. I'm not interested anymore unless I have to, which sounds awful, but it's just how it is. Whereas Lee still enjoys it to a point. So yeah, Lee's become my default mechanic, I guess, to a point. He certainly does it quicker than me and with more knowledge than me. I've always been a lot more it'll be all right, because Land Rovers are a lot more forgiving than you know, cars like this. Also, my car history does not involve petrol cars at all. It's very rare I've had a petrol car in my driving life. I've had a few, but very rare. Diesel is my thing, and it's a lot easier and a lot more forgiving than petrol, in my eyes anyway. None of that fannying around with ignition and timing and all that rank stuff, you know what I mean? It's just, it'll go or it won't go, and mechanical diesels certainly are a lot easier to work on than the new stuff. But as I say, old Land Rovers is my forte. Anyway, I'm digressing. So yeah, sometimes you will see me, and a lot of the times you will see Lee. Now obviously 5 or 6 years ago, I started this channel just before lockdown, I think, when I bought the Allegro, and it was literally just a hobby thing, and it's sort of gone on from there. We've invested really no work into the channel. It's stayed very static over the years. Subscriber count's okay, but nowhere near what some channels that put a lot of effort in get, and that's fine. It's not meant to make a lot of money, and it doesn't make a lot of money. I think we average 25 quid a month off the advert stream. If we release a video every week, there's really not a great deal of money in it. Certainly costs me more in time editing the videos and costs Lee more in time making them, but we're not in it for that. We just do it because we enjoy doing it, and also it brought us together as friends as well, so it's all a winner. So yeah, that is why sometimes people will see me and a lot of times they'll see Lee. Lee is definitely more car stuff on the channel, and if I do car stuff, usually Lee is there. I've defaulted to adding a lot of my hobbies to the channel. Junction, just bear with, it's a Hyundai Convoy. Yeah, I've added a lot of my hobbies to the channel. There are a few of you that follow just for the trains. I've always been into trains ever since I was a kid, so that is why the trains get thrown on here now. And views aren't great, they're not terrible, they're builders. There are some of the best videos on the channel. I've got train stuff on them, it's just that sometimes they take years, and that's okay. As I say, I don't do the channel to please anybody and to get views. I just do the channel for throwing my hobby on, and Lee's hobby in a way, I guess. It's definitely become a two-man job, and that's good. So anyway, I think that clears everything up. As I say, Lee will continue to do car stuff while he's got his mojo for it. We had a year or so where there was virtually nothing going on the channel because Lee was going through a bad point and didn't do a lot of stuff, but now he seems to be invigorated with restoring princesses and ambassadors, and that's good for the channel. There is a lot of work we've got to do on Agatha, hopefully over the winter. You'll note, if you've watched the videos, Lee did a lot of servicing on the car when I was on a holiday and found that the exhaust was virtually hanging off. I've managed to get a complete centre section. Well, it should have been a complete exhaust, but the bloke who I had it off, hi Steve if you see this, thank you very much, cut the back box off because he'd got the exhaust. He hadn't got an Allegro at the time and he wanted a back box, and it was a generic sort of size that fitted a van he'd got, but that's okay. He donated it. I went all the way to Oxford to fetch it, but Sunday morning drive, that was good. So I then have bought a generic back box which Lee thinks will make fit, so we'll cobble something together with the exhaust. Did look at going down the stainless route, the same as Lee did, but I don't want to invest a massive amount of money in this car. Yeah, the manifold that's got a crack in it and has had a crack in it ever since I've had it, I've sourced another one. I've just got to get that shipped to me. Again, that is hopefully something I'll sort out this month. I've just remembered I've got to pay for that and sort that. And then what we're going to do in the winter, when Agatha gets back in my garage, we're going to get her up on axle stands, take the whole of the exhaust off, the whole of the manifold off from the engine, and we know that the studs are virtually non-existent. There's no nuts on them or anything, they're rusted to death. So Lee thinks we're going to have to cut that off, and we might even have to get the head drilled out. We don't know till we put. So basically the whole thing is, we thought we'd leave the car as is with a bit of a blowing exhaust and a bit of a blowing manifold, so that at least I can get a bit more use out of it this year before it goes in the garage for the winter. There's also some rust to address. About 5 years ago it went into a body shop and had a lot of work done. I think, well, I know because I saw footage, they cut all the rust out, but I think what they did, they just put a skim of filler over the top of the rust, which is standard practice. However, the filler started to blow out now and there are a couple of big lumps on it, so we've got to address that, knock the filler off and see what's underneath. And I think we'll just do what Lee normally does, which is go back to a line and stone chip it and then just overpaint it. I'm not going to invest a massive amount of money in getting the car resprayed and stuff like that. I've got no intentions of getting rid of the car, even though I don't use it very often, but as long as I can keep it looking semi-presentable, the same as Lee does with his, that'll do for me. Eventually, if the car goes when I've either got no space or, you know, I've retired and I've got no time or whatever, then we will look at worrying about that for the next owner. Anyway, waffled far too long enough, and it's not even Wednesday. I will just enjoy the drive and I'll find my way to Lee's somewhere in this video. So, waffling aside, I was enjoying the drive so much, I kind of got lost in where I was going. I knew I'd eventually end up at Lee's house because I'd arranged to go and see him. But I decided to take the Allegro on a tour of my old stomping ground, if you like. I've not always lived where I live now. For 40 odd years I lived in Rugeley and the surrounding areas. Armitage, to be exact, is where I used to live, but Rugeley was the postal district. Now, the whole reason I bought the Allegro was because my granddad had one, and it was the first car I can ever remember working on. And I thought, why not take the Allegro to one of the places I remember most vividly. It's a place called Blithfield Reservoir, just outside of Blythebury and Abbots Bromley. Massive water storage reservoir, obviously, and we used to come here in the Allegro as kids with me nan and granddad. There'd be an ice cream van parked, and we'd just park up and have an ice cream and look at the water, and it felt like you'd gone to the seaside as a kid. It was really nice, and I got some great memories of it. So I thought, why not pop in? It's been a long hot summer. We'll see how low the reservoir's dropped, and then we'll continue the ride and have a look at some more of my old stomping ground. So I'm just leaving Blithfield Reservoir now, and we'll head on over the dam and head towards Rugeley and see what's changed there. Right, so I have flipped the camera a different way now. I'm only using my phone for this. It was a total spur of the moment thing to do, so footage isn't going to be brilliant, but like I say, trip down memory lane. So we've just left Blithfield Reservoir and we're just approaching Rugeley now, and running along to my right is Rugeley Trent Valley Railway Station, and this is where I spent most of my days as a kid, watching trains, train spotting if you will, and this is where my love for trains really came from. Lost count of the amount of times that I came straight from school and spent the entire evening down here with friends. Good times. I shan't go up to the station because it's a bit of a faff to get out of this junction, but if you're wondering where all the love of trains came from, it is the fact that where I've lived most of my life is on the corridor of the Trent Valley line, the Euston to Glasgow, I guess, main line. Now we're going to go back through Armitage, and I'll point out some of the places that I've lived. Why not? I do realise that the camera is chopping half of my head off. Unfortunately, it's not the ugly half, is it? But it's the only way I can get it to stop shaking in the camera mount, and also at least it's giving you a bit of a view of what I'm seeing as I'm driving. When I did the first part of the video, I'd got it facing the other way, you couldn't really see a lot. On the left hand side as we get down the bottom of this hill is the Plum Pudding, site of the first ever pub that I had my first illegal drink at the age of 15. To the right hand side, that used to be a pub called the Old Farmhouse Restaurant. Long since closed. It got changed to a Tom Cobley after that. Then it was called a Spode Cottage. Happy days. Just entering Armitage now. It's called Armitage with Handsacre now. That is the village just past it. It's all combined together now. On the left is the youth club that I used to go to as a kid. And then here is my primary school. That's the Croft County Primary. And I'm just going to turn down the road next to it, which is called Chapel Road. This is where I spent most of my childhood living, certainly from the age of 8 onwards. Although we've lived in about 5 houses in this village. They're old council houses, and then the bottom ones are called airy houses. They are prefabricated houses that were made just after the war when there was a housing shortage. All of my life is memories down this road. Turning around here, where that horse box is, that is my old house. I lived there till I was about 21, 22. I dug that driveway out, pulled all the hedge out and did all that gravelling for my first car. Many happy memories up here. My friend Michael Pritchard used to live there. And it certainly hasn't changed, other than it's got a bit run down, but doesn't everything. And we'll do a loop and show you some of the other houses. Why not, eh? We're on a nostalgia trip. If anything, I've got it for myself. Right, turn right here into Upper Lodge Road. And these 3 bungalows that you can see on the left. And that middle one was where my mom used to live just before she died. And then if we turn into Doors Close, this is where my nan and granddad used to live. And on the right hand side, the little bungalow that's now painted white, where that Renault, I think it is, yeah, Renault is parked at the Focus. That was my nan and granddad's bungalow. And I wonder if the last time an Allegro went down this road, it was my granddad's. Just turn around. It's been many, many years since I've been down here. They moved away to York when I was 21, something like that. So it's been 30 odd years since I've been down here. Looks like the bungalows had a new roof, but yeah, straight in front there. And my granddad used to park his car on the neighbour's drive, which is that Renault Scenic, and I can still see 8-year-old me helping him fix it back in the day. Anyway, moving on, we'll do a left here, and straight in front of you to the right there are some flats. One of them flats is where my mom lived just before she moved into the bungalow as she got older. Wow, top work with that jack there. To the left here was the park with the swings and the slide. My friend Peter Bowden used to live in that house. Straight in front of us there is what we used to call the big field. And then to the right here, my friend Robert and Stephen Eyre used to live there. And then to the right here, which you won't be able to see because it's up this bank, the middle house just up there, you can't see it, was where we used to live when I was born, in effect. Even though I was born in Burton-on-Trent, that was just in hospital. Moved into that house until we were about 5, I guess, and then we moved to the right here, what used to be a shop. My mum ran a shop and we moved into the shop. there's the Swan pub, still going strong. What a dive. Passing Armitage Shanks where I worked for my first job. So this white building now to the left used to be a shop, it's now flats. That was my mum's shop and that's where we lived until we moved into Chapel Road. To the left there, the vets, used to be the doctors, and then many shops along here that now don't exist anymore. And my final bit of this video where I reminisce, I guess, I'm now going to go up the road that I used to live up. When I moved out of Chapel Road at the age of about 21, 22 and bought my first house, I moved into Station Drive, which is the site of an old railway station, hence the love of trains. And that then reignited my love of trains to the age I am now, I guess. I moved away from here when I was 47, I think. So we'll just go up Station Drive and turn round. I'm led to believe my old house now looks a bit of a shambles. I'm still in contact with one of my ex-neighbours and they did say, blimey, why did you move away? The neighbourhood's gone downhill. So won't point it out too much, but just on the left there is my old house. You can tell by some of the cars up here that some of the neighbours are still the same, because some of them have kept the same cars and I've been moved away years. This fencing in front, when they expanded the railway to 4 tracks, they cut all the embankment away. But yeah, this is Station Drive and we're just going past my old house now. What a dump. It still looks looks like they've done no work since I left. But I've got loads and loads of old photographs of this when it was the railway and when it was the station and stuff like that. And if I had £1 for every time I've pulled out of this junction or sold a car on this junction, I used to sell many cars on this junction back in the day. Happier times. Well, they're not actually, you know what I mean. I have a great time now, but happy times, I guess, when I was a kid and when I was younger, you got your whole life ahead of you. Now you're looking at your twilight years. As soft as that sounds, I'm not far off 60. You know, mad. The chip shop and the Crown. And that's it. That's a big massive loop done, because I started this drive down here. When I get to this junction and turn right, I turned right out of that junction to head towards Blithfield Reservoir. Right, I definitely best get to see Lee now. Agatha's decided to stay here on her holidays for a bit.
With me?
With Lee. Yes, everybody, I've made it to Lee's after my epic tour of the past. Don't want to show you too much of the princess.
Oh, why not?
Well, because it's coming up in a future video.
Yeah.
But I shall be taking the Jag home. Right then, let's get back home after seeing Lee and having a good catch up. And I'm back in the Jag. Yep, I'm going away again in my camper van, touring Northumberland. And I said to Lee, listen, Agatha's just going to get parked up. Do you want her again? And I'll just take the Jag. He said, well, the Jag's just sitting here and I'm not going to use it, so the Jag might as well get parked up. So Jag's coming back with me just to sit on my drive for a fortnight, and Lee's having Agatha. At least he'll go out for a drive, even if it's just after work one night or whatever, and he likes having her there, and she likes going there because he looks after her. So that's me done on this video. A bit of a strange one, a bit of a reminisce, bit of a catch up. All in all, bit of a video that probably nobody will have watched to the end, which is a shame, because if you watch to the very end, you'll see there's a PO box number where you can collect your free £100 for being a great subscriber. See you on another video. Bye bye.